Hello friends, welcome into Deep Dive Secrets. Imagine a simple choice. A person hesitates to apply for a promotion at work, even though they are fully qualified. Or consider someone avoiding relationships, fearing intimacy, even when deeply longing for connection.
At first glance, these decisions seemed purely personal, random even. But beneath the surface, there may be a hidden system at work, one rooted in experiences from decades earlier, often before the age of 12.
Childhood trauma, whether subtle or severe, can quietly shape the way adults perceive risk, trust, and opportunity, influencing everyday decisions without conscious awareness.
The American Psychological Association defines childhood trauma as any event or series of events that overwhelms a child's
ability to cope, creating lasting emotional or psychological consequences. This isn't limited to extreme cases like abuse or neglect. Emotional dismissal.
Witnessing parental conflicts, or even chronic stress at home, can leave an imprint on the developing brain.
It is a system in which early experiences, often invisible to the adult, program automatic responses, risk assessments, and patterns of behavior.
Consider the concept of neuroplasticity. During childhood, the brain is highly adaptable, forming pathways and reinforcing patterns based on repeated experiences.
When trauma occurs, the brain can prioritize survival and caution, embedding responses that later appear as hesitation over caution or avoidance. For example, a child constantly criticized for making mistakes may grow into an adult who avoids taking initiative in professional settings, not out of laziness, but because the brain learned that missteps lead to danger psychologically speaking. Now, imagine employees at a U.S. tech company.
One grew up in a nurturing household, encouraged to take risks and explore curiosity. The other endured a chaotic home with unpredictable punishment or criticism.
Both have similar resumes, similar skills, yet when presented with a leadership opportunity, the first steps forward confidently, while the second hesitates, overanalyzing, and ultimately declines.
The difference isn't in ability, it's in how early experiences wired their decision-making systems.
Childhood trauma created invisible barriers, influencing choices in subtle but powerful ways.
Research from the National Child Traumatic Stress Network shows that early adverse experiences are correlated
with adult outcomes ranging from financial habits to relationship patterns.
Adults with histories of trauma may gravitate toward
perfectionism or avoidance, which in turn shapes their careers, friendships, and even health decisions. For example, someone who grew up in a home where resources were scarce may later oversave or avoid investments, not because of financial illiteracy, but because survival instincts developed in childhood dictate caution. Another hidden mechanism lies in emotional regulation. Trauma disrupts the brain's stress response system, particularly the amygdala and prefrontal cortex.
The amygdala, responsible for detecting threats, can become overactive.
The prefrontal cortex, which controls planning and reasoning, may struggle to manage this heightened alertness. Adults may react impulsively to stress, avoid challenges that seem risky, or misread social cues. Direct extensions of early adaptive strategies that once kept them safe as children. Visualization can help. Imagine a flowchart where early experiences feed into brain wiring, which informs emotional responses, which then guide adult choices. Each node in this system carries the imprint of childhood events. Minor traumas may seem trivial, but their cumulative effect can be profound. Even seemingly small incidents like a teacher publicly criticizing a student for asking questions can create a persistent sense of inadequacy,
subtly influencing career ambitions decades later. Many Americans misunderstand this system, believing adult choices are entirely conscious or rational.
But studies suggest that up to 90% of decision-making is influenced by
Unconscious processes shaped early in life. This means that avoiding conflict, hesitating to speak up,
or even overcommitting to work may not be simple. Character traits, they may be echoes of past experiences encoded in the brain. Decision-making circuits. Let's frame this in a real-world scenario. Consider a young professional navigating corporate America.
they face a team project with high stakes. Their instinct might be to withdraw or defer to others, not because they lack competence.
But because their early life experience conditioned them to avoid situations where failure could lead to harsh consequences.
Meanwhile, colleagues who did not experience similar trauma engage confidently.
Secure in their right to try, fail, and recover. The workplace outcomes differ, but the underlying cause is invisible, buried in years-old psychological wiring. Even outside the workplace, trauma's influence is evident. Financial choices, healthcare decisions, and personal relationships all carry subtle markers of early life experiences. A person may avoid preventive medical appointments, delay investments, or stay in unsatisfying relationships, guided by an unconscious belief system forged in childhood.
Each choice reflects a hidden feedback loop.
Where past experiences create patterns that shape the present, often without explicit awareness. This hidden system also has a cyclical component. Adults who act based on trauma-influenced decisions may inadvertently reinforce these patterns in their own families. For example, hypervigilant parenting can create stress for children who then develop similar behavioral patterns. Understanding this system is not about blame it. It's about insight. Recognizing the mechanisms can help individuals identify the roots of their tendencies
And begin to intervene consciously.
In this video series, we will uncover how this system works step by step, with examples from across the United States showing how childhood experiences ripple into adult choices in surprising ways. We'll explore psychological patterns, behavioral consequences, and practical insights that can help decode these hidden influences, from the subconscious wiring of fear and caution to the ways adults unconsciously seek safety or avoid risk. We'll trace the threads of childhood trauma into the fabric of adult life. To understand how childhood trauma shapes adult decisions, we must first examine the architecture of the human mind as it develops. The brain is not a blank slate. It is a dynamic system that learns patterns, evaluates risks, and builds survival strategies from the earliest experiences. In the United States, studies estimate that nearly 2/3 of children experience at least one adverse childhood event, ranging from household dysfunction to neglect. Each experience feeds into a complex system of neural wiring that guides emotional responses, risk perception, and decision-making long into adulthood.
The first layer of this system is the emotional response network, primarily governed by the amygdala. The amygdala acts as a threat detector.
In a child exposed to trauma, it can become hyperactive, constantly scanning for danger.
This heightened alertness is protective during childhood, but in adult life, it can trigger exaggerated fear responses.
For example, a person who experienced parental unpredictability may interpret workplace criticism as a personal attack.
Reacting with anxiety or withdrawal.
The prefrontal cortex, responsible for reasoning and long-term planning, often struggles to counterbalance these signals, leaving adults reacting more from emotion than logic.
Next, consider attachment theory. Developed by psychologist John Bowlby, attachment theory explains how early relationships with caregivers form templates for future social interactions. A child who experiences consistent support develops secure attachment, while inconsistent or neglectful caregiving leads to insecure attachment patterns. In adulthood, these patterns manifest in decisions about trust,
intimacy, and cooperation.
For instances, someone with anxious attachment may overcompensate in romantic relationships, agreeing to unfair compromises to avoid abandonment. Conversely, an avoidant adult may disengage from emotional connections, maintaining distance to prevent vulnerability. These behaviors are not random. They are the adult expressions of early survival strategies. A practical U.S.-specific example is seen in educational settings. Children who grow up in under-resourced neighborhoods often face chronic stressors, economic instability, unsafe environments, or limited access to supportive adulthood. These early stressors can impact executive function, including planning, attention, and impulse control. As adults, these individuals may struggle with financial planning or career advancement, not due to lack of intelligence, but because their brain adapted to prioritize immediate safety over long-term strategy.
This system, invisible to most observers, explains why two individuals with similar talent may make vastly different life choices.
Childhood trauma also influences risk assessment.
Adults with early exposure to unpredictability often perceive the world as inherently dangerous, a cognitive bias known as threat hypersensitivity. In U.S. workplaces, this can manifest as reluctance to volunteer for challenging projects, avoidance of leadership roles, or hesitation in making strategic business decisions financially. It may drive extreme caution, refusing investment opportunities, or overemphasizing savings even when evidence suggests moderate risk could yield benefits.
The brain is essentially running a program written decades earlier, calibrated to avoid perceived threats.
Behavioral economists have explored similar phenomena in financial
The scarcity mindset describes how past deprivation influences present choices.
A study of American adults found that those who experienced childhood poverty were more likely to focus on immediate rewards rather than long-term gains. The logic is rooted in survival. When resources are unreliable, prioritizing immediate needs is adaptive.
However, this system can become maladaptive in modern contexts, limiting career growth or personal wealth accumulation.
Another hidden mechanism is emotional regulation. Trauma can disrupt the balance between the limbic system, responsible for emotional processing, and the frontal lobes, which manage executive functions. Adults may struggle with delayed gratification, impulse control, or stress management. Consider a parent who experienced unpredictable household conflict. They might overreact to minor disagreements with their children, perpetuating stress cycles. In romantic relationships, this can appear as jealousy, avoidance, or difficulty communicating needs, behaviors that are direct echoes of the childhood system designed to survive instability. Let's explore a scenario that combines these factors. Imagine a mid-level manager in a U.S. corporate office. During childhood, they experienced frequent parental conflict and inconsistent reinforcement.
As an adult, they are highly competent but hesitate to present innovative ideas, fearing criticism.
They overprepare for meetings, second-guess decisions, and defer authority to colleagues who appear more confident.
Unseen to their co-workers. This behavior is not a lack of skill, it is a survival strategy encoded in the brain.
The system is self-reinforcing. Avoidance prevents failure in the short term but limits growth over time.
The impact of trauma also extends to health behaviors.
Research shows that adults with adverse childhood experiences are more likely to develop chronic conditions,
such as heart disease, diabetes, or anxiety disorders. Part of this is physiological. Prolonged stress in childhood can alter cortisol levels and immune responses. But another part is behavioral. Adults may avoid medical care, overeat, smoke, or engage in risky behaviors as coping mechanisms. Decisions influenced by the same early survival circuits that shaped emotional and social choices. Educational, financial, and relational decisions are all interconnected within this hidden system. Consider someone navigating student loans. A child who witnessed financial instability may avoid borrowing for education, limiting long-term earning potential.
Another might overborrow, driven by scarcity fears, resulting in excessive debt.
Both behaviors stem from early conditioning, yet manifest in choices that appear purely economic. It's important to recognize misconceptions.
Many Americans assume that overcoming childhood trauma is solely about therapy or getting over it.
While support is critical, understanding the system itself, the patterns, triggers, and automatic responses provides insight into why decisions unfold as they do. Awareness allows adults to interrupt unconscious patterns, create new neural pathways, and make choices that reflect conscious goals rather than historical survival strategies. Now, we will explore the long-term consequences of these patterns.
We'll examine how subtle early experiences ripple across careers,
Relationships, finances, and health, revealing pitfalls that are often misunderstood or invisible. We will uncover how the system can either limit potential or,
When understood, be consciously redirected to promote growth and resilience.
as we continue, it becomes clear that the influence of childhood trauma is not a single event, but a chain of cascading effects that shape adult life in ways most people never realize. Consider the long-term consequences of hypervigilance, a common response to early trauma. Adults whose brains were conditioned to expect danger are constantly scanning for threats, even in safe environments. In the workplace, this can appear as micromanagement, over-preparation, or reluctance to delegate tasks. While these behaviors may superficially seem like diligence or conscientious,
They often mask deep-seated anxiety rooted in early survival strategies. Over time, these habits can limit career advancement, as leaders may perceive the individual as hesitant or inflexible.
Another consequence lies in relationship dynamic. Adults shaped by insecure attachment may struggle with intimacy, trust, or communication. An anxious adult might cling to a partner, fearing abandonment, while an avoidant adult may maintain emotional distance, resisting closeness to prevent vulnerability. Both patterns often appear irrational to outsiders.
Yet they are consistent responses from a system developed to navigate early instability.
In the United States, where social support networks vary widely, these patterns can compound. For instance, an adult with a history of trauma may interpret minor relational conflicts as catastrophic, leading to repeated cycles of tension, withdrawal, or
Financial decisions are similarly impacted.
early experiences of scarcity, neglect, or unpredictability can create lifelong tendencies toward overcaution or impulsive spending.
Behavioral economists refer to this as a scarcity mindset, where the brain
Prioritizes immediate security over long-term planning. In U.S. households, this might manifest as avoiding investments over saving or alternatively over borrowing to meet perceived needs. Even when opportunities exist to build wealth or advance professionally, the subconscious system shaped by childhood experiences may resist interpreting calculated risk as danger. Health behaviors also reflect long-term trauma consequences. Chronic stress in childhood can permanently alter physiological systems.
Including cortisol regulation and immune response?
Adults may experience heightened stress sensitivity, leading to anxiety, cardiovascular issues, or metabolic disorders. These health outcomes are not merely random. They are downstream effects of an adaptive childhood system that kept the body alert in unpredictable environments. Unfortunately, in adulthood, these same systems can trigger maladaptive responses to everyday stressors, subtly shaping life expectancy, energy levels, and overall quality of life. Let's examine
A concrete example.
A young professional in Chicago grew up in a home where emotional outbursts were frequent and unpredictable.
Today, in team meetings, they often defer to colleagues, fearing even minor criticism.
They overprepare presentations and triple-check every detail.
While colleagues interpret this as thoroughness, the hidden consequence is that the individual avoids taking risks that could accelerate career growth.
The childhood trauma system created a feedback loop. Early experiences wired hypervigilance and risk aversion, which now constrain opportunities decades later.
Even decision-making in parenting can carry echoes of trauma. Adults shaped by early adversity may overcompensate by being hyperprotective or conversely replicate patterns of neglect.
Both approaches are attempts to manage uncertainty and prevent perceived threats.
But they can inadvertently transmit trauma cycles to the next generation. In U.S. households, these patterns are often normalized, remaining invisible until stressors expose them.
Understanding the system allows parents to recognize these patterns consciously and create
Different outcomes for their children. Consider the societal scale.
Millions of Americans navigate adulthood with decision-making influenced by early trauma, often without realizing it.
Workplace dynamics, social behaviors, and economic trends are subtly shaped by these cumulative effects. Policies, corporate structures, and social norms interact with trauma-shaped behaviors, creating feedback loops. For example, standardized testing in schools or rigid corporate hierarchies may inadvertently reward risk individuals while penalizing trauma-affected adults, reinforcing disparities rooted in early life experiences. A less obvious impact appears in mental health.
Adults who experience childhood trauma often report heightened anxiety, depression, or difficulty regulating emotions.
These conditions influence career choices, social engagement, and financial planning. In some cases, trauma-induced stress manifests as avoidance avoiding difficult conversations, financial planning, or medical appointments. This avoidance can have cascading effects, further limiting opportunities or exacerbating health and financial challenges. We also see long-term effects in lifestyle and leisure decisions. Individuals with trauma histories may avoid situations that trigger emotional discomfort, such as public speaking, travel, or social events. Even simple recreational choices, joining a gym, attending a networking event, or volunteering can be subconsciously guided by early survival patterns. The system created to protect a child from harm continues to shape adult behaviors in subtle but powerful ways. It is crucial to note that trauma does not dictate destiny. While the system creates strong tendencies, it is neither absolute nor irreversible. Awareness, therapy, and supportive environments can recalibrate the system. Cognitive behavioral interventions, mindfulness practices, and secure social connections can help adults override automatic responses, making conscious choices aligned with goals rather than historical survival strategies.
However, without understanding the hidden mechanisms,
many adults continue to struggle with patterns that seem inexplicable or
At this stage, the cumulative effect becomes clear. Childhood trauma creates a system of invisible rules that govern adult decisions. These rules affect careers, relationships, finances, health, and personal growth. Understanding them is like uncovering the code behind human behavior, revealing why some paths are chosen automatically, why some risks are avoided, and why certain opportunities remain untapped. Recognizing the hidden system is the first step toward conscious, deliberate choices that align with desired outcomes rather than historical survival imperatives. At T-Stays, we will distill these insights into practical lessons. We will explore how awareness of these hidden systems can guide decisions, break negative cycles, and create resilience. We will identify actionable strategies to rewire behaviors, manage emotional responses, and harness understanding for long-term success and well-being.
Now that we have traced the long-term consequences of childhood trauma, it's time to translate these insights into actionable lessons.
Recognizing the hidden system is only valuable if it informs choices that improve outcomes.
One key lesson is awareness. Simply understanding that many adult behaviors risk a bit.
Hesitation, over-preparation, or avoidance may stem from early experiences, can provide clarity and reduce self-blame. Awareness allows adults to pause before reacting, creating space for conscious decision-making rather than automatic responses. Another lesson involves emotional regulation.
Trauma often primes the amygdala to overreact, but adults can strengthen the prefrontal cortex to manage these responses.
Techniques such as mindfulness, controlled breathing, or journaling help regulate stress responses.
Allowing clearer thinking in high-stakes situations.
For example, an employee who hesitates to speak in meetings can use these strategies to notice anxiety, process it, and choose to contribute ideas intentionally,
Rather than automatically deferring to others. Practical planning also matters.
Adults can structure decision-making processes to bypass trauma-driven impulses. Writing pros and cons, consulting trusted mentors,
Or using stepwise frameworks can help counteract patterns of avoidance or hypercaution.
In financial contexts, this could mean creating a budget or investment plan that emphasizes long-term stability while gradually introducing calculated risk, helping to retrain the brain's threat perception system.
Attachment awareness is another critical takeaway.
Recognizing patterns in relationships, anxious or avoidant behaviors enables adults to consciously adjust interactions. For instances, someone prone to avoidance may practice expressing needs in small, safe ways, building confidence over time.
Similarly,
Adults with anxious tendencies can learn to tolerate brief periods of separation or disagreement without assuming catastrophic outcomes.
these exercises gradually reshape relational patterns established in childhood.
Health management is also an area where insight translates into action. Understanding that stress responses may be heightened allows adults to proactively schedule medical checkups, develop exercise routines, and implement stress reduction practices.
Behavioral changes supported by knowledge of trauma's long-term impact can reduce the risk of chronic conditions.
Creating a feedback loop of improved physical and emotional resilience. Education and career choices benefit as well. Adults aware of trauma's influence can deliberately challenge avoidance patterns.
For instance, volunteering for new projects.
Enrolling in professional development or pursuing leadership roles becomes a conscious effort to override conditioned hesitation.
Over time, these repeated conscious decisions rewire neural pathways, creating greater comfort with risk-taking and problem-solving.
Another lesson lies in self-compassion.
Many trauma-influenced adults internalize criticism or perceive personal shortcomings as inherent flaws. Recognizing that these tendencies are adaptive responses to past experiences, not indicators of personal failure, reduces guilt and fosters resilience. Self-compassion encourages experimentation, curiosity, and growth, allowing adults to explore opportunities they may previously have avoided. Support networks are vital.
Trauma can make individuals feel isolated or distrustful, but carefully chosen mentors, therapists, and peer groups provide corrective experiences.
Positive social reinforcement helps retrain the brain's expectation system,
Gradually replacing fear-driven responses with confidence-based strategies.
In practical terms, this could mean joining professional associations, attending community programs, or engaging in therapy groups focused on skill building and emotional support. Visualization and planning exercises can further enhance awareness, creating flow charts that map decision pathways, trigger, and potential outcomes allows adults to see where trauma-driven responses emerge.
For example, a decision to negotiate a raise might trigger automatic fear.
By identifying this, the individual can consciously apply coping strategies, rehearse responses, and approach the situation strategically, reducing the influence of unconscious patterns. Finally, understanding these lessons encouraged generational impact.
Adults who manage their trauma-informed systems can prevent the same patterns from affecting their children.
Conscious parenting, structured environments, and open emotional communication help break cycles, creating a more secure system for the next generation.
In essence, the key lessons are awareness, emotional regulation, structured decision-making, attachment, understanding, health management,
Intentional risk-taking, self-compassion, support networks, and strategic visualization. Each of these approaches targets a component of the hidden system shaped by childhood trauma, providing practical tools to regain control over decisions that may have previously felt automatic or constrained.
As we conclude this exploration, it's important to frame everything within the broader purpose of understanding and empowerment.
The patterns shaped by childhood trauma are not weaknesses, they are survival strategies that once protected the child.
Recognizing them allows adults to consciously navigate life, make informed choices, and reshape outcomes across careers, relationships, finances, and health.
Deep Dive Secrets has brought you this journey into the hidden systems that influence everyday decisions. From the unseen wiring of the brain to the long-term impact on emotional regulation, risk assessment, and relationship dynamics.
The goal is to illuminate what is often invisible. By understanding these systems, viewers gain actionable insight into their own behaviors, empowering them to make decisions aligned with goals rather than historical survival mechanisms.
If you found this exploration valuable, consider liking the video, subscribing to the channel,
And sharing it with friends who may benefit from understanding these hidden influences.
Your engagement supports continued research-backed, trust-safe content that reveals the systems shaping our lives.
Comments are welcome, as discussing personal observations or questions helps deepen collective understanding and encourages others to reflect on their own patterns. Remember, these insights are not only theoretical, they are practical. Awareness can lead to conscious change. Emotional regulation can reduce anxiety-driven decisions. Structured approaches can counteract avoidance or hypercaution. Support networks reinforce positive behavioral shifts. Over time, these small, deliberate choices accumulate, transforming long-term outcomes and creating resilience in ways that feel both subtle and profound.
This video was brought to you by Deep Dive Secrets, where we uncover hidden systems that quietly shape daily life in the United States.
Continue exploring, questioning, and understanding the invisible forces at play.
By doing so, you gain clarity, agency, and the ability to consciously influence the trajectory of your life.